What is the stupidest thing you have seen an otherwise smart person do? Once I got a call from one of my college professors, one of the smartest and friendliest person I know. Prof, can you pick me up at this address? 30 miles from his place without public transport? Me, sure. How did you end up there? Prof, I went to sell my car to this guy. Only heard about it, but it's fantastic. I joined Mensa for the card. When I went to Kinko's to laminate it, I didn't read the instructions on the wall, and the laminate melted to the machine. I had to get the Kinko's guy to open the machine for me, but by then the card was bubbling. When he scraped it out and saw what it was, he laughed. He laughed so hard. Friend is standing in line at Target and has a 9-volt battery and a penny in his pocket. The two make contact and naturally the penny gets hot. He pulls the 9-volt out of his pocket and looks at it as if he has never seen this object before. He sticks his tongue on it, shocks himself, pulls it away, looks at it, does it again, pulls it away, looks at it, and does it a third time. The cashier just stared at him like someone let a monkey out of the zoo. Mine was the stupidest thing I have done. It was pretty embarrassing. I was leaving my flat, and I was talking to a girl on my uni course. As I got to the door to exit the building, I noticed someone outside and was going to let them come inside before I left. After about 6 or 7 seconds of me just standing there, the girl asked me what was up, and I told her that the person outside must have been having trouble getting inside. She then pointed out that it was my reflection. My grandfather is a chemical engineer that used to work for Dow, handling startup of some of their biggest plants. He went on to be an expert in industrial cleanup operations. He's a practical genius. He also decided it was perfectly acceptable to put stuffing into a plastic bowl and slide it into a 400-degree oven. My best friend has a genius level IQ. He was in the top 10 of my graduating class and has nearly a 4.0 GPA studying chemical engineering. I once saw him look right down the barrel of a loaded shotgun. Professors with all kinds of degrees who've written renowned books / papers can't figure out how to make a video play on the projector instead of the monitor. Thought there was 60 cents in a dollar. Took him a solid couple minutes to figure out that there wasn't after we just sat there laughing at him. Oh boy, I finally have a story for this one. One of my mom's best friends growing up has a brother who was absolutely brilliant. This is a guy who graduated top of his class, got a perfect score on the SAT, and went to and graduated from Harvard. I had to get the Kinko's guy to open the machine for me, but by then the card was bubbling. Ordinarily he walks, but he decided to drive this one particular time. He went to the store, got his stuff, and proceeded to walk home. The next morning, he went to get into his car, only to discover that it was missing from his driveway, so he filed a police report. A few days went by, and he had to go to the grocery store again. He walked like he normally does, and found his car exactly where he left it a few days before. This is a Harvard graduate. My doctor, resident at top university hospital, wife constantly misuses the words door and window interchangeably. It's a riot. Please close the door. Where are you going? The door. Oh shit, I meant the window. This is practically daily. Was at law school with a smart guy. We shared a house. He wouldn't eat anything up in the microwave if it hadn't been bought as a microwavable product. He was convinced that it would get pumped with radiation and he'd be eating radioactive food. My boyfriend, we did those 90-second microwavable rice packets and I smelled something burning. I asked, how long did you put the rice in for? He said, 3 minutes. I told him it was only supposed to be 90 seconds. And he looked at me like I was stupid and told me, ugh yeah, that's 90 seconds. Then a few seconds later he turned bright red. Still make fun of him for it. About 5 years ago, I got one of those motion activated air fresheners and put it on my dresser. It wasn't until I got up the next morning that I discovered it was lined up directly at eye level where I got out of bed. I effectively booby-trapped my room against myself. I have a relative, cousin of my aunt, what's that, who has a doctorate in engineer and made a ton of money in petroleum engineering, yet over the years has sent a large fraction of it to Nigerian scammers. Even more interestingly, he started doing this before the internet, when they just sent snail mail letters to people, and has sent it to the same Nigerian family over the decades his way to support Africa, I guess. But then this man also doesn't believe we landed on the moon, or that the Holocaust happened. So there's that. Edit. It's my cousin once removed in-law. Stop telling me. My boss and I were chatting on the phone about some random work issue. He told me to call so and so for some reason. I told him I needed the number. He said, hold on, I gotta look up the number on my phone. Shuffle sounds. Shit, where's my phone? Damn, swerved it. My phone must have fallen out of my pocket. Son of a bitch. Well, gonna have to call you back once I find it. I cracked up until he jokingly yelled, don't you tell anyone about this. This girl I was kinda seeing at the time asked me if I wanted to watch a movie. So we go up to her room. She pops an elf and turns to me and asks, wait, can you watch this since you're Jewish? She has a 4.0 GPA and is going to law school next year. Also, when I eventually told her I was a virgin, she asked me if I ever had a boner. I was 19. A lot of smart people I know are just terrible with money. I know people with 4.0 GPAs and high paying jobs that are borderline bankrupt because they spend every dollar they have trying to keep up with the high rollers who run their company. Like, these are smart people, but incredibly insecure as well, and that's just a terrible combination. This one is about me. I'm a senior in engineering being paid to do some fancy research that we hope will easily eradicate third world diseases. Edit. I'm a senior in engineering, not a senior engineer. Excuse my poor phrasing. My dad has always managed my finances and never really taught me much. I just got a credit card and had a $500 limit. Spent $492 in a month and got confused when during the next calendar month after the statement, my credit card was still being declined. I thought the limit reset every month regardless of if you paid your balance. It just made sense to me when I called my dad asking why my credit card hadn't reset. Yet he laughed at me for a solid hour and told all his business partners. I laughed it off as being an engineer, not a finance person like him, but my lack of real world experience with economics/money is also sad. I'm a living case of why we should have useful life skills classes in high school. One time, my friends and I were walking around downtown and we were passing through a parking lot. One of my friends noticed this and asked, is this a car dealership? No, this is a parking lot. So naturally he responded with, but why are there cars here? Took a few minutes of explaining for him to remember that cars do tend to be in parking lots. Late to the party, as usual, but I'll shame myself. I was going to bake cookies for my 20th year high school reunion, but I encountered a problem. I explained this problem to my fiance. I was going to make cookies for my reunion, but it ended up I couldn't. Him, why? Me, well, your mom gave me that box of cookie cutters that has over 100 cookie cutters, and I was going to make cookies in the 9 and 5 shape for the class of 1995, but it didn't come with the number 9. It has 1 through 8, but number 9. At this point he just stared at me because he thought I had come to a realization on my own, which I didn't. Me, what? Him, you just have to turn the number 6 upside down and it's a 9. Me, blank look. Him, the number 6 upside down is the number 9. You did realize that, didn't you? He cracked up when he figured out that I never realized this. I have a PhD. My sister-in-law is a molecular biologist. Her level of genius is astounding. She put herself through school via scholarships, but made pocket money working at Ponderosa. One day she was changing the oil in the fryer, set the old hot grease tub on the floor, and proceeded to step in it. She literally cooked her foot. It took several skin grafts, but mostly looks normal now. So whenever someone does something stupid in our family, we say they cooked their foot. My old lady of 7 years just finished up her masters in accounting. She roasted a chicken yesterday, and as the timer rang I yelled to her, remember to use a hot pad to take the lid off the roaster pan, because like the pan the lid handle is hot. I get a sarcastic no duh back from her. I watch from a mirror with a good angle of her as she takes the pan out with 2 hot pads on the side handles of the pan. She then sets the pan on the stove top, puts the hot pads back in the drawer, then grabs the handle on the lid of the pan. She burned her hand again. dropped the lid to the floor loudly, and then ran to the living room to see if I was laughing. I was. Dumbest smart person I know. I love her. I travel a lot for work, and I'm going to London later this month. One of my girlfriend's best friends is a NICU nurse, saving the lives of premature babies every day, and has forgotten more about biology and anatomy than I've ever known. She asked what language they speak in London, and if I was going to visit the Eiffel Tower, if I got some free time. My grandfather has a PhD in computer science, one of the early ones. He was on the team that developed the fingerprint computer that ended the days of using a magnifying glass to match prints. The original computer now lives at the Smithsonian. It was snowing out, and he said he was grilling steaks. I thought he was on the outside porch. I looked outside, and he was not there. I found him in the basement using a huge gas grill. It took me several minutes to explain to him why this was not a good idea. When I was in high school, I was friends with this guy. He was pretty smart, regularly got A's in his classes. After high school, he went off to become an electrical engineer or some shit. Anyway, we were in the cafeteria one day eating lunch when he pulled out a can of soup. That was his lunch. He opened it and looked at the microwave and said it's fine if I just put it in like this, right? Since he didn't bring a bowl with him. Being a dick, I immediately said yeah, it should be no problem at all. I do it all the time. And he was excited and ran off to go warm up his soup. He came back a few minutes later completely disappointed and said you can't put metal in the microwave. He was real bummed. It almost ruined his day. He just learned that right there, since there was another guy at the microwave who he told him that it was a bad idea to do it. He managed to borrow a bowl from the kitchen staff and it worked out in the end. But how the heck do you not know about that? That's like the first thing you learn. Don't put metal in the microwave. On top of that, he was disturbed by the fact that people would open the microwave when it was beeping. You know, the beeps that tell you when it's done cooking. He thought that it was some sort of radiation cooldown warning and that everybody who opened the microwave was going to become mutated because all of that radiation was still in there, which doesn't really make sense, but that's what he thought. So either he was an idiot or he just didn't have a microwave at home, which seems crazy to me. Who doesn't have a microwave? Even to this day, I'm still really sure which it was. A girl I went to high school with went to the same university as me. She was top 5 in our graduating class and hasn't gotten lower than a 3.8 in 2 years of college, including biochemistry and organic chemistry. One summer day we were out at a bonfire and she had a hood on because, and I quote, "Don't moon rays make you paler?" Not seen directly, but heard the professor tell these two stories. This man is an expert with nanomaterials and just an all-around physics badass, and yet, story 1. The professor begins watching karate movies and becomes a fan. Soon he begins to wonder if he can reproduce some of the feats he has seen various martial artists perform on film. "I'm a physicist," he says. "I can do this." So he gets a stack of a few cinder blocks and tries to break them with his fist. He shattered almost every bone in that hand. Story 2. Once, his home's water heater stopped heating water. "I'm a physicist," he says. "I can do this." After all, he reasons, the water heater is just a really big resistor submerged in a tank of water with some plumbing attached to it all. Why not repair it himself? The basement cleanup cost him a few $1,000s, plus the cost of a new water heater and professional installation. My father told me a story about his father. My grandfather was a brilliant chemical engineer working for Procter & Gamble. He actually led the team that figured out how to make liquid Tide. One day he came home, scooped himself some ice cream, put chocolate chips on top, and put it in the microwave. He was surprised that the ice cream melted rather than the chocolate.